Interface. Did we discuss interfaces, guys?
I guess not.
Okay. Online training. Let us check. Oh. What? Oh. Okay, overloading, overriding polymorphism, we discussed, and this and super keywords, final and static we discussed, abstract we discussed. Now we need to understand about interfaces. So what are interfaces and why we need interfaces, we see. Now interfaces, what we can define about an interface, and an interface is also a class like construct only, but which gives you only specification what has to be done, what to do, but how to do that or how to accomplish that specifications will be the responsibility of implementers who are going to write subclasses for that interfaces. Hmm? So this is the basically what we require to remember about an interface. An interface gives you a compatible intersection or compatibility, provides compatibility between two different things also. That also we can say, just like our plugs and sockets, whatever it may be, means generally at your home your sockets would be high power sockets, but when you want to charge your mobile phone directly, you cannot charge your mobile phone with the same voltage. You need to have an interface, means so you need to have an charging adapter, right? A charger you require to have. Direct any plug you cannot connect to your mobile phone, right? So how to convert that high power charge, high power electricity into compatible power electricity with mobile chargers, mobile that would be taken care by the chargers that have been created. Just like that, interfaces will give you what to do, but how to convert or how to implement that the tasks or how to accomplish the task will be taken care by the implementers. So technically what we can define here, we can define an interface is a class like construct that specifies what to do, but how to do the things will be the responsibility of subclasses that are implementing the interface. So an interface, what we can say, an interface also a class like construct, which will be giving you only specification about what to do, but how to do the things will be the responsibility of the subclasses which are implementing that interface, or implementation classes should give the implementation for all the methods. So in other points, what we can say pure technically, we can say an interface is a complete abstract class that have or that contains only abstract methods. Abstract methods means what? Only method declaration, but not the implementation. No concrete, no concrete methods will be allowed in any interface. Only abstract methods. Abstract method means what? Only method declaration. Only method declaration will be there. No body will be there for any method in the no concrete methods will be allowed in any interface. So concrete methods means what? Normal methods which are having the body and the implementation for some functionality. Such methods are not permitted in any interface. And of course, an interface an interface cannot contain any normal data members. Data members means nothing but variables. Variables also will not be there. But what it can have? But it can have static and final constants. Static and final constants it can have. Interface can have static and final constants, but not the normal data member variables. So we can say an interface is a complete abstract class. So for abstract classes, can we create any objects? Can we create the objects for the abstract class? No, right? So similarly, an interface also cannot be instantiated. And an interface cannot be instantiated. That means what? We cannot create any object for interface. Any object for interface. So if we are not allowed to create an object for any interface, then how should we use? How we are using the abstract classes? In the similar way, interfaces also we need to use. So that means what? We need to write subclasses for the interfaces, and through subclasses we can use all the interface methods. The point we need to remember. We have to create subclasses for interfaces to use the interface methods. Use the interface methods. So this point you need to remember. So interface cannot be instantiated, and we cannot create any object for interface and we have to create subclasses for the interfaces to use the interface methods. Clear? So whenever we are creating any subclass for an interface, what is the responsibility or what is the important point that we need to note here? As interface is having all complete abstract methods, all the abstract methods should be overridden by the subclasses, right? This point we need to remember and we need to take care of that. We need to do that. So here, what we can say, a subclass that is implementing an interface should override or overriding is nothing but implement all the member methods declared in interface. That is compulsory. It is a rule. Otherwise, what happens? Otherwise, the class must be made as abstract class. So if you are writing a subclass for an interface, it is compulsory that you should implement or override all the methods presented in the interface in your subclass. At least one method from the interface you are not implementing, then you should make your subclass as the abstract class. Otherwise, it will be compilation error. It will be compilation error. Are these points clear, guys? The points, all this which you need to remember. Is it clear, guys? Yeah. Now, the syntax, let us see the syntax. How do we create interface? Actually, to create interfaces or interface, we should use the keyword interface. Use the keyword interface and declare all the required abstract methods in the interface. So this point, so this is the way how we need to create. So this, let's see the syntax and then see an example on interface creation. Syntax, public, the keyword what we need to use if we want to create a class, we are using the keyword class, but here it is interface. Interface is also class like construct, right? So we can give the name just similar to classes. Any interface you can name, you can give. Let us say flyer. Sorry. Syntax, right? Interface name. The conventions for writing interface names also similar to class name conventions, like a first letter of each word should be capital. Interface name like this, and then here you can write all abstract methods, means static and final member, static and final constants we can declare, and interface methods we can declare. So here, what are the types of variables you can declare? Static and final variables, or we can't say whenever it is final, it is not a variable, it is a constant. Constants, static and final constants. And what else you can declare or define inside the interface? You can define method declarations, only method declaration, no implementation. Implementation means no definition of methods, no definition of method or no body for the methods, only method declaration will be there. That's it. So in this way we can write a interface. So example how we can write, we let us write a simple example. Let's write interface public interface. Let us say flyer interface flyer, and here we can write, if you want to write any member variable for flyer, what we can say, we can say a long or int fly limit, max fly height. So whenever it is constant, we need to initialize it, right? So 100 meters, let us say like this, we need to write. And whenever we are writing this, it should be static and final. So static variables, how do you create? Static and final variables like this. Whenever a variable is declaring as a constant is being declared as static and final, you need to write them all or with capital letters. But when we have multiple words, you can separate them with underscores. This is one naming convention when we are declaring the static and final constants. And of course, by default in interface, all these are public. If you don't write, generally in the class, if you don't write, what it will be default, right? Default access modifier will be there, but in interface all these are public. You can declare like this. In the similar way, the methods also by default, whether you write or not. Generally in the interface, what do you have? You will be having public, abstract, or only abstract methods, right? So public, abstract, flyer can do what, or flyer should do what? Should fly, right? And return type should be like void, we can say, or any other return type if you want. But whether you define this as public and abstract or not in the interface, it is not required. Simply void fly you can write, but by default all these methods by default void fly, and by default all methods in interface are public and abstract. This point you need to remember. You don't require to define public and abstract. By default, it will come for every method when you are declaring a method signature here inside a interface. Is it clear, guys? Yeah, Sai, Purnima, Shishir. Yeah. So yeah, very good. So in the similar way, now let us write one example interface. The same interface we can write. What is that interface that we need? That's it. This is the way how we need to create an interface like this. Public interface flyer, and public static final max fly height is 100 meters, and wide fly. Simply you can write like this. So here flyer.java. Now, after creating the interface, this interface, how we should use, be clear, and how we should use. We should use the interface by writing the subclass. Directly, you cannot use it. Why? Because here you didn't given any implementation or behavior for the method fly here, right? So what you should do here now, you need to write implementation for this fly method, then only you can use it, right? So write the subclass. What could be the flyer class? Public class, which is the flyer. Yeah, guys, which is flyer, man? We can say a parrot, right? Parrot. We can write a flyer. We can say parrot is a flyer, right? So how should we can make a parrot class as a subclass or implementation class for this interface? Let us see the syntax. So once we define an interface to make use of that interface methods, we should create an implementation class. Or implementation class is nothing but subclass, which is defining or which is overriding all the member methods of that interface to create subclass or implementation class for an interface. We should use implements keyword. We should use the keyword implements keyword in class declaration. So syntax, how we can write syntax? Public class name. Generally, if we want to write a parent class, what we require to write here? Extends, right? But now in this case, we'll be writing implements interface name. Implements interface name. Now in this implementation, it can have its own data members, just like any other normal class. It can have data members and it can have its own member methods also. But along with the member methods, what it has to do, it has to override all the methods that are declared in a interface, in the parent interface. That is must and should. So here what we can say, data members it can have, and member methods, and overriding methods from parent interface. Parent interface. Is it clear, guys? This is the syntax that we require to remember about a subclass when we are creating for a interface. Now, example, how we can write? We can write example like public class parent implements interface. Which is the interface? Flyer. In the flyer interface, we can write the required means in the parent we can require we can define all the data members that are required, and we can define its own methods also. Its own methods also we can write. Is it clear, guys? So now let us write a subclass to write a parent class. Already we have declared here, right? Class parent dot job. Now this parent class we can write with implements keyword. Class parent implements what? Flyer. Here, if you want to declare any own member methods of parent, you can declare and define own member variables of parent. You can declare. So let us say private string where it what it can do. Parrot can have a name. So let us say private string name, and what else can do parrot? Public, the method, what we can say, public void eat. Parrot can eat something, right? So what is the behavior you can give here? System.out.println parrot is eating fruits. What does parrot eats? Fruits it eats, right? Fruits and grains it eats, right? Let us say fruits it is eating. And what else the parrot has to do? If we write only this, these are only parrot own properties and behavior. But what is the responsibility of parrot now to mark or to say parrot is a flyer? It should be able to fly. So how to say that is flying? We have to override this fly method presented in the flyer interface. Then only it will be treated as a flyer. Otherwise, it will give you compilation error. Otherwise, what you need to do? You need to declare it as abstract class. Abstract class. You need to declare it as abstract class if you don't override that fly method from flyer interface. So here what you should do, the responsibility of subclass developer or the subclass is what? Overriding public void fly from parent interface. So here what is the behavior we can give? Print ln parrot is flying. Parrot is flying. Like this we can write. In this way, we need to write subclass. Is it clear, guys? How we are writing? Yeah, Shishir? Following or anything is confusing? Okay, fine. Let us write a main class. to observe how it works. Public class interfaces demo, right? So this is the main class that we're gonna write. So public static void main string args. Here what we can do, we can create parrot equals to new parrot. But instead of this, what else you can do? Even you can say flyer. Flyer means parent interface, means parent reference you can create. For the interface, you cannot create the objects, but we can create the reference variables. So that point also we can say, see, interface cannot be instantiated, right? But we can create reference variables for interfaces, just like abstract classes, the same rules. What we have learned in abstract class, the same rules here also we can. So whenever it is parent interface, parent reference, what we can say, p dot fly, we can say. If we say p dot fly, under p, what do we have? Parent object, right? From parent object, it will execute the fly method behavior. If you want to show the eating behavior, then you need to typecast the p into parent object, and we need to call the eat. But our main objective here is how to use the interface methods from parent object. So for that, you need to do like this. So now let us open command prompt here and run the application and see the behavior of the application. So what we need to do first, set path equals to C colon program files Java JDK and then bin. Now Java C interfaces demo.java. It's compiling, it's compiled successfully. Now Java interface demo. So parrot is flying like this we can do. So here on which reference variable you are calling it, it is flyer p, right? Or f, anything you can use. Anything you can use. In this way you can do. And if you want to show parrot a specific behavior, then what you need to do? Parrot p equals to typecast. Parrot, what we need to typecast? This flyer reference we need to typecast it. Now we can say p dot eat, p dot eat, we can say. So now what happens? Compile interface demo, then run. Parrot is flying, parrot is eating fruits, anything we can do. In the similar way, if we want to show the max fly height, then what you can do? System.out.println. You cannot see maximum flying height. Maximum flying height is what? P dot max fly height is here, right? You can write like this. Now what happens? Compile the interface demo, then run. See, maximum flying height 100, like this. But whenever we have declared something as a static, what is recommended to use instead of using the reference variables, what we should use, what is recommended, always use this like class names, means interface names, flyer that, max fly height, like this we need to use. This is the way how we should use any static members or static variables or static methods. It works in the same way. This is how we can define an interface, and we can implement that interface through class, and we can use that interface methods through the interface reference variables by creating subclass objects, or using subclass objects also we can use. Are these points clear, guys? Guys, are these points clear? Yeah, Sai. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Now, even if you see here, flyer is our interface, right? When we have compiled our interfaces, automatically interface also will be compiled to dot class file only, just like our classes. When we compile our Java classes, that will be compiled to dot class files, right? Similar to that, interfaces also will be generated as dot class files only. So during the runtime, interfaces also will be treated as classes only. This point also you need to remember. How once we compile an interface program, then what is the resultant file that will be created from compilation process? It is dot class file. Is it clear, guys? Shishir? Yeah. Okay, guys. Let us pass here today. Tomorrow